Crews in Southern California have yet to contain much of the Franklin fire. It's burning west of Los Angeles. Officials say it's too soon to know the extent of the damage in Malibu. Some 20,000 residents have evacuated their homes. Courtroom. At a brief hearing yesterday, Luigi Mangione's defense lawyer said his client objects to being extradited to New York to face trial. Macy's shares tumbled 7% before the opening bell on Wall Street after the department store chain reported a decline in profits and sales for its third quarter. New Jersey's governor is telling residents that dozens of drone sightings across the state in recent weeks do not appear to pose a public safety concern. This is SRN News.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MediShare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before December 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number, 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE, 844-45-BIBLE.
Rocket 102.5.
With your updated forecast, I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Weatherology Weather Center. Mainly sunny skies today with daytime highs approaching 52. Westerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies again tonight. Lows dip down to around 20. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 42. Cloudy skies expected Friday. Decreasing clouds by Saturday. Low 30s Friday. Low 50s by Saturday. Taking a look at the extended forecast, 55 Sunday, 54 Monday, and 53 on Tuesday. Once again, high of 52 today, low of 20 tonight. We should top off around 42 tomorrow. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Currently, it's 17 degrees.
Visit Boot Barn this week to save on top quality holiday gifts. We're offering holiday specials right now where you can get $50 off select men's exotic boots, 25% off select outerwear, Western shirts, flannels, and jeans. We're also offering savings on select workwear and children's Western wear. Visit us this week and save on top quality holiday gifts. Boot Barn, unwrap the West.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
The year-end clearance is on at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Save big on remaining hail vehicles like a 2024 GMC 2500 with some hail repaired. You can still take an additional $8,000 off. Or drive away in a 24 GMC Sierra 1500 and save up to $8,500 off, including rebates on lightly hailed units. Plus, enjoy 0% financing for up to 36 months on select new GMC and Chevrolet vehicles. These deals won't last long. Visit Hurl Chevrolet GMC today or shop online at hurlchev.com and wrap up the year with incredible savings.
Carbon monoxide, or CO, is a silent killer. CO is a deadly gas with no scent, color, or taste, and common CO sources are poorly vetted gas furnaces, propane space heaters, gas grills, and portable generators, and exhaust from automobiles. It's important to make sure you have a working CO detector in your home. Change your CO detector's batteries each year and check your detector's expiration date and replace as needed. A safety message from Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative making energy work for you.
The year-end clearance is on at Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Save big on remaining hail vehicles like a 2024 GMC 2500 with some hail repaired. You can still take an additional $8,000 off. Or drive away in a 24 GMC Sierra 1500 and save up to $8,500 off, including rebates on lightly hailed units.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
This holiday season, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has the perfect gifts to make Christmas merry and bright. Need something special for that grill master? Check out their top line of grills and griddles from Blackstone, Traeger, and Weber. Guaranteed to make their holiday sizzle. Stocking stuffers, they've got you covered with tools, gadgets, and must-haves for every DIYer in your life. And tackle winter head-on with their powerful Ego snowblowers, perfect for clearing the way this season. Plus, spruce up your home for the holidays with a fresh coat of Benjamin Moore paint, or get ready for the new year with a stunning remodel. Enjoy the holidays this year with Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, with locations in Goodland and Colby.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland, or call 785-899-5011.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Being a Nebraska football fan these past few years and watching this team week in and week out, I kind of compare it to like doing drugs. You know you shouldn't do it, but you can't stop. Kids, don't do drugs.
The region's only local sports talk.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guys everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Brumbaugh fakes the three, fires it from the corner. Yes!
To the pros.
They set up the screen. McLaughlin has it with Miners out in front. McLaughlin's got a first down. The 10, inside the 5, touchdown Denver.
The Blitz is presented by Earl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work. Right side, Adu pops out at the high post, dribble handoff, Wagner down the lane, pick and roll. Adu with a two-hand dunk. The assist from Wagner, and we're tied at 49.
Back to Jonas on the left wing. Crowd jumps out on him to Humrick House. Back to KJ. 3-ball. Got it. He got it. And a foul.
Now a turnover. Michigan in transition. And a block at the rim by Adu. Brazil at the other end. We're under a minute. Carter on Lillard. Lillard, step back three. Got it. Game time. We're tied. Vintage Damian Lillard. 1 point game. Here's Lillard on the drive. Lillard lays it in. Bucks lead.
And good happy Wednesday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us on the Morning Blitz. Broadcasting always on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, NWKSradio.net. And our video stream up and running this morning on the Earl Chevrolet GMC video stream on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Looks like as if it's all up and running this morning. I haven't had any comments yet, Max, so that much means we're at least in a better spot than we were yesterday.
True. So, very true.
Our sacred confidential producer, Papa Gershon, says we are all good on the audio. So we're just going to take his word for it here this Wednesday morning. Another cool start, sunny and 24. On our way to a high, though, in the 50s after a very cold day yesterday. Going to get warmer temperatures here over the next few days as the temperatures heat up as this week heats up. This week is going to get very, very busy starting here tomorrow with the topside tip-off tournament getting going, and more tournaments will continue or pick up play over the next the Eagle Invitational for wrestling, which is a humongous one in Colby. Very busy week. We're going to pick up that. It'll be full swing starting tomorrow. So because of that today, a little bit of a slower show. We will get into some college football coaching changes. We'll dive into some stuff that teams have completely overhauled their staffs in some form or fashion. Some teams have not. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. We will talk with Joe Tillery, our good friend from Heartland College Sports. He's going to join us today on the phone. He's going to drop by and visit with us and talk to us about all types of things in the college sports world, particularly with Kansas and Kansas State and regional schools. So we'll get to Joe Tillery about that coming up here in a little bit. We will get some college football playoff bracket thoughts in, I think, this morning. We have some time, so I think we'll squeeze in our thoughts. Yesterday we talked some Heisman. We were going to talk some more about the bracket, but we were going to do some Heisman thoughts, some playoff bracket thoughts here today. Before we dive into that, though, I wanted to quickly get to some scores from yesterday that I was able to track down from day one of some tournaments from the region. Found all the results from the Brewster Sagebrush. It was kind of a weeding out day. It's the way I would kind of put it. We have the pretenders now on one side of the bracket and the contenders on the other side of the bracket after day one at the Brewster Sagebrush. On the girls' side of the bracket, it's Wallace County over CFE 71-32. St. Francis beat Weskin 43-36. Shiloh with a 63-48 win over Western Plains. Golden Plains wins 50-20 over Tri-Plains Brewster. Shiloh rolled CFE 57-25. Wallace County, they defeated Golden Plains 77-59. Weskin with the win over Western Plains 71-28. And St. Francis beat Tri-Plains Brewster 67-32. A lot of lopsided games yesterday at the Brewster Sagebrush. Like I said, now you've got the contenders on one side and the pretenders on the other. That tournament will resume here on Friday. At the Purple and Gold tournament in Waukene, a split for Hoxie. Hoxie girls win easily over the Trigo girls, 58-17. Hoxie boys lose in a tight one, 44-41 to the Trigo boys there at the Purple and Gold. Both Hoxie teams will play again on Friday. Girls on the championship side of the bracket, boys on the consolation side. And then Quinter's Castle Rock Class, a couple scores I saw from that. Oakley girls beat Wheatland Grinnell 60-31. Oakley boys lost to Quinter 51-50. That was the final there as they lost to Quinter 51-50. And there was a chance for Oakley to get a shot off before they actually did get a shot off before the buzzer. Maybe even took it a little too quickly. But Oakley able to get the Oakley falling by one to Quinter 51-50, the final scores yesterday from the Brewster Sagebrush shootout, as well as the Purple and Gold and the Castle Rock Classic over in Quinter. So a few high school hoop results from yesterday. And like I said, well, a lot of those tournaments will resume on Friday. Some tournaments begin on Thursday, of course, with the topside tip-off tournament being one of those happening here in Goodland. So very busy. We'll be in full tournament swing on Friday when every tournament is in action going on into Saturday. All right, so there you go. Just want to quickly get some high school hoop scores for you. The college football playoff bracket's been out for a few days. It's given everybody some time to kind of digest and get their thoughts on that. And I guess that's where I wanted to kind of throw this conversation, Max, was to you. You know, we talked Heisman yesterday, kind of had a little bit of a dip into the playoff bracket, but where do you stand as our first CFP bracket was released here this past Sunday?
Well, I think as it should be when you get 12 teams, that all of these first round games are going to be good ones. And you know, there's some I'm more excited for than others. I'd say the game I'm most excited for is probably Tennessee versus Ohio State. I think that Tennessee's got a very good chance to pull off this upset, if you want to call it an upset, because Ohio State, you know, is the 8, Tennessee's the 9. Indiana versus Notre Dame is really interesting. Notre Dame is really beaten up on some teams that aren't as good as they are this year. So I'm hoping Indiana doesn't play like they did against Ohio State and keeps this one close. And it's not kind of a Notre Dame versus Army or Notre Dame versus Navy kind of game. And then I think SMU really does have a good chance against Penn State. I think that their quarterback play for SMU has been fantastic, and it really was against Clemson, obviously just coming up short, but they have a good football team, and just because they lost the ACC championship doesn't mean that I don't think that they are more than deserving to be in the spot that they're in. I do still think Drew Aller's a really good quarterback. I know he makes some bad throws, and And I don't know if he really fits in Penn State's system as much as, more of a game managing quarterback would, but I really do think Drew Aller is one of the top quarterbacks in the country. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on this first round. And all these are home games too, which makes this even more exciting.
Yeah, that, as I've said many times before already on this show, that to me is the most exciting thing about this contest is that the first round gets to be played at home sites. And we've known that for a long time. They've said they were going to be doing that. And I think it's great. I just think that it's great that we get to have a first round game at home sites. And it's even cooler that 3 out of the first 4, as I said a couple days ago, are played north of the Mason-Dixon line. That to me is awesome. You have games at Ohio State where it's going to be probably chilly on a Saturday evening. A game at Penn State where you expect it to be cold and chilly up there in State College. And then to, Notre Dame and Indiana, that's also a game that's north there and expected to be chilly on a Friday night. And that's it's, to me, another thing is you look at this playoff bracket and you're like, I don't think in how many ever predictions you would have had some of these teams. We know, I don't think anybody would have ever predicted SMU and particularly for sure Indiana being in the first ever college football playoff expansion. I don't think anybody probably would have ever thought that. And so it's very cool to see some new blood in the mix. Now, whether or not they're going to be around for very long, I don't know. But it's still cool to see some new blood and some different people in this bracket for once and not just have the same 2 or 3 teams all the time. Now, do I think we could whittle down to that? Absolutely, we could. But I like the fact that at least to start, we do get some new blood in there, and I do like that.
Definitely. Do you want to go through some predictions or?
I don't know if we want to go through predictions yet, just because we're still a week out and there are a lot can change in those couple of weeks. You said Tennessee, Ohio State is the most intriguing game to you. Why is that? Just because they're the most evenly matched or the 2 biggest brands? Why is it the most intriguing game?
I think it is. I think it's both of those reasons. Nico, I always don't know how to say Lamaleva.
Yeah, Ayamaliva or something like that. Yeah, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, you're right. Something like that.
He's so talented. And I just think that Ohio State is just, they have to play. If Tennessee gets stuck into that Big Ten brand of football that Ohio State wants to play at, then it's going to be very tough for them to win. But after that game against Michigan, I don't know if Ohio State can motivate themselves to get back to where they need to be. That feels like that was just the dagger in Ohio State's season, them losing to the unranked Michigan. And Ryan Day's kind of got he's got his coaching job on the line, I believe. I think if they get first rounded, I think he's gone. There's such high expectations, whether it's realistic or not every year, that you got to beat Michigan and you got to be competing for a national championship. And if you lose in the first round and lose to Michigan in the playoffs, I don't see a world where he comes back next year. So that's another reason why this is such an intriguing matchup. And then even Clemson, Texas, I could see Clemson pulling this off. It's Dabo. Texas still hasn't beaten a top 25 team this year. So I'm still not like 100%. They're a good football. They're a great football team, one of the best in the country. But I don't know if they're up to the challenge of beating a team like Clemson or even Arizona State in the next round. So it's going to be interesting to see how that side of the bracket all turns out. I think that's definitely the more intriguing first round side of the bracket would be Tennessee, Ohio State, Clemson, and Texas.
Yeah, I think Tennessee, Ohio State will be an entertaining game. I don't know. I don't worry much about Ohio State. I think because they're at home, that's going to help. And when they are when Ohio State is focused and when they are ready to rock, they are really tough to beat. You have to remember, this is a team with a $20-some million payroll. At least that's what it's out there. Some $20 million payroll in NIL with a bunch of high-end talent. It takes a lot for them to get up for big games. And a lot of their big-time players are new guys that are only there for maybe a year or so. Will Howard, whether it's Judkins at the running back spot or whoever else you want to throw out there. A lot of these guys are new to this program. And this is one thing that I think we need to try to remember as we move forward in this new era of college football with the transfer portal and guys only coming for a year and leaving for a year. The Michigan game doesn't mean that much to them. They don't care. It's just another game. It matters more to the fans and the players that have been invested in that program for years. It doesn't mean much to those guys who are collecting a paycheck and playing football for a season before they go to the NFL. It doesn't mean that much. Michigan had more want to. They wanted to win that game more than Ohio State did, no matter what everybody thinks Ohio State wants. They wanted it more. It showed on the field. Ohio State, when they wanted to win, they took care of business. That Indiana game is a prime example. The Indiana game was not close. Ohio State dominated that game because they knew that was a big-time game, and they knew they needed it, and they had Ohio State's attention. Michigan didn't have their attention. Just admit it. They didn't. They thought, it's a 6-6 team. We're going to wipe the floor with them, and we're going to win this game. That's all out the door. Now you're in a brand new college football playoff. You're on true national television where everyone's going to be watching this game. And yes, Tennessee, Ohio State, they're going to have the Volunteers' full attention. Or sorry, Ohio State will have the full attention. They'll have their attention fully on Tennessee as well. I should say that. And so I'm not worried about that as much. I really am not. I don't know why. I feel like Ohio State is going to get and you know what? If Ohio State wants to fire Ryan Day if they lose this game, by all means, please do. Please do. I hope you do. If I was Ryan Day, I would have accepted the Purdue. I would have said, I would have called Purdue and said, I want your job before Barry Odom took it. I would have said, I'll take that job. I would go anywhere else, but not coach here, because I guarantee I can probably win at other places. But winning here, it's too much in today's era of college football to say that you have to be unbeaten and you have to win the Michigan game every year and you have to win national titles every year. In this day and age of college athletics, where the talent is more dispersed, good luck.
Well,
good
I
luck,
don't know.
Ohio State fans.
I agree with what you're saying. The expectations are unreasonable at Ohio State. But I think it's not every year, but you got to beat them once or twice.
Oh no, it is every year.
Well, it's not like Ryan Day. It's not like Ryan Day won the last 2 national championships, beat Michigan 3 times, and then this year lost to the worst unranked Michigan team in a while.
He hasn't lost to a Big Ten team not named Michigan.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying like it's not like he is beating Michigan and then lost. This isn't a new thing. Like this has been happening for 3-4 years where he can't beat Michigan, and that's causing them to not win national championships. They're losing in the Big Ten championship, and then they haven't won anything yet. So the expectations are unreasonable for Ohio State, but I think it's the consistent factor of him not leading them to the promised land when they're paying that much money for all these athletes. That's going to lead to him getting fired if they don't beat Tennessee coming up soon. My next question about this bracket, Ross, would be, do you see a world where Oregon's not playing in at least the semifinals?
No, not really. I think Oregon is probably head and shoulders above almost everybody else in this bracket.
Yeah.
I think they're a number 1 team, and I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I mean, they have just and give a lot of credit to Oregon. I don't know if I would have predicted this when the season began. I knew they were going to be good. I didn't know, I guess, they would be this convincingly good, because I thought a transition to a Big Ten league where, it's a little bit different style of play in the Pac-12. It's a little bit different in this and there. I figured they'd have a stumble game. They'd stumble one time. It never happened. It really never happened. Now, they had some close calls. Boise State was a close call at home. Wisconsin on the road was a close call. There were close calls other places as well. Ohio State at home obviously was a close call. There were some close calls, but they won. They won. I mean, they have looked like the best team far and away. You go up and down this bracket, Oregon has looked just for the best team. They've looked clearly like number 1 team. Georgia, who's the number 2 seed in this whole test, they've looked like they've had holes in their game all season long. But they found a way to push through that. Boise State and Arizona State, you question how strong of schedule they have faced consistently throughout the year. A little bit in that. But almost every other team you can kind of poke holes in a little bit. You really can't do that with Oregon.
I think another reason why people didn't maybe expect this at the beginning of the year is there were a lot of holes in Oregon the first 2 games of the year. They almost lost to Idaho. They only won 24-14 against the Vandals at home. And then they beat Boise State by 3, but that was obviously kind of before we realized what Boise State was, especially with Genty. But, this is just an Oregon team. You're 100% right. That was just, it was clear all year, really, from this week 2 on, that they were the best team in college football and that there was no one not on their level yet. But the thing is, I don't see them losing to Ohio State or Tennessee, and I don't think they would lose to Texas. I think maybe, and this might be, I might look back at this and say, oh, you're completely wrong, kind of like that Missouri clip you played the other day. But I think Arizona State is someone that needs to be watched out for. They are kind of that, they're playing with house money at this point, and they have that fire on their shoulder, especially watching them in the Big 12 championship, where they're going to be a tough team and a team you don't want to play in this bracket because I think what's their coach's name? I'm blanking. I'm trying to think of their coach's name.
Dillingham.
Dillingham. I looked it up yesterday and I already forgot it today, but he's coach of the year in the Big 12. He's been phenomenal. He's electric. I love watching him on the sideline. He's all up in refs' faces. He's going crazy. They have a very fun team, and they have a team that's built that's bought in to this program and what they're trying to do, and they're playing with house money, like I mentioned. So they're a team that I could see, kind of being, even though they have a bye, they still feel like kind of a dark horse, even if they're going to play Clemson. So Arizona State's going to be something fun to watch this postseason.
Yeah, Arizona State. I think that was another thing I forgot to bring up yesterday in our Heisman talk. I think even Cam Scatterbo might have been even considered a dark horse Heisman guy. But I think because the ballots were already turned in before the Big 12 title game, I think that hurt his chances. I think if he got that Big 12 title game performance before the ballots were submitted, he might have been in New York with that group of guys. Not saying he would have won it, but I think he would have been up there. He's been great, and I love those stories. Cam Scatterbo was at Sacramento State. That's where he was prior to going to Arizona State. Seeing guys succeed at the lower levels and then get a chance to come up to the bigger levels and showcase that talent, to me, that's very, very cool. I know it's hard on the smaller schools, but I think it's also a pretty cool thing to see. So I have liked that. I think when you look at this in time, I think Clemson, like you said before, could give some issues to Texas. Clemson has been in these type of situations. Texas really hasn't. Clemson could give a lot of issues. Clemson could be a dark horse team that could make it all the way to the semifinals. That path, Arizona State is a good football team, and you're right. They are playing with house money. But, like I said, I don't know. I don't know if I expect them to be able to beat the big dogs. We'll see. I don't know if I expect them to do that. I could be wrong. Many people have been wrong about them. They predicted them to finish dead last in the Big 12 this year. And look at them sitting in the college football playoff. Which game out of these do you think will be the most lopsided of the first round?
It pains me to say it because I've loved what Indiana has done this year, but I think it's going to be Notre Dame, Indiana. I think Notre Dame is going to run away with this one. And I'm going to be rooting for Indiana, and I'm going to be pulling for the upset, but it just feels like that's the lopsided matchup. Notre Dame is more battle tested. They have more experience. And Indiana, I don't know. I was believing in them. I saw them get blown out by Ohio State. They're a good football team, but I don't think that they have enough, especially in South Bend. I just don't see it. That's the one I really am not seeing. All the other ones, I could see it really going either way. That one, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
See, I could see that game being a little bit closer. I don't know. I feel like Indiana is going to show up and they're going to score points and they're going to have some success. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win, but I feel like that game on Friday night, the 20th, will be entertaining. I think it will be good.
I hope so.
The one game I think that could get a little out of hand could be SMU Penn State.
Yeah.
And just because I think first and foremost, if the weather's chilly, I don't know if SMU is going to love that very much. They haven't played a game really anywhere north of, I think, the Mason-Dixon line all season long. They haven't been anywhere up north. They've been all in the south. Penn State's going to have that place rocking. And even though I know James Franklin has a ton of pressure on him, and deservedly so, James Franklin's going to have a ton of pressure on him because fans are expecting them more than likely to win their first two games. Beat SMU, beat Boise State, and get to the semifinals. That's what people are expecting, I feel like, out of him. And there's pressure on him to get that done. I don't know. I don't feel like SMU, they've had a great season. They've had a great run. I just think they're going to run into a little bit of a buzzsaw with where they're playing and who they're playing. I think that, to me, is going to be the game that's a little bit more lopsided than Indiana Notre Dame, where I think that could be a good game. I think Tennessee, Ohio State. Clemson, Texas could be a lopsided game. If Texas gets rolling, I don't know if Clemson can keep up offensively.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something, like I said before, I think there's something about Clemson and their experience and Dabo's experience in these scenarios that gives them maybe a little bit of helps them get a leg up a little bit on Texas. So
definitely.
Who from the first round of teams do you think could win a national title?
I guess Texas.
I think that's the obvious answer.
Texas. That feels like the obvious answer. Yeah, I feel like I mean, Penn State could. Here's the thing about Penn State. Penn State is like, if there was a university that represented a bronze medal, it's Penn State. They just always feel like they're just a step short every single year. And I don't know what it is, if it's Franklin, if it's just Penn State, but they are the bronze medal university. And it's hard for me to even imagine them winning a national championship. Like, I can't imagine in my head James Franklin holding like a trophy at the end of the year. That doesn't make sense to me. But you know what? They have a good team, and I think they have the easiest path. So I think they could, just because of that. But as the first round teams, I don't see any of them winning the national championship. I really don't. I think the best chance, my favorite is Oregon, obviously. But I even think Arizona State. I don't know. I'm a believer. I don't know why I've just become this believer of Arizona State, but I love that team that just has that fire in them. No one believed in them at the start of the year. No one believes in them still. There's something about them that I feel like they have a good chance. But Oregon, Georgia's too. Like, I would hate to see Georgia in the national. How boring would that be if it was Oregon, Georgia? Like, out of all this, we've got all these fun teams, and then it's just Oregon, Georgia in the national championship. But yeah, I would say Texas. If there was one team, it'd be Texas.
I mean, it could be Oregon, Georgia. It certainly could be. I bet if there was a lot of betting odds, that's probably what people think it will be for a national championship game.
Give me Boise State, Arizona State. How fun would that be?
I mean, it'd be absolutely nuts if that was the case. That would be nuts.
Insane.
I think Texas, and I even think Ohio State have the best chances of playing in the national championship from the first round. I just think they are the most complete football teams of the first round squads. Yep. And if they can put it together for a couple of games, all of a sudden they're playing for a national title. I really do believe that.
God, how fun. If it was like no SEC and no Big Ten in the national championship, it was like, I mean, you could have Mountain West, Big 12, you could have ACC. That would be craziness. I just don't.
You
have the chance for that. I don't see it.
You're right.
I don't
see
it.
That's the best part. You have a chance for it. That's the best part. You do have a chance for it. But yeah, that will be very interesting. You're exactly right. Very interesting. There you go. A few thoughts. Once again, the college football playoff does not start until December 20th. That's with Notre Dame and Indiana there from South Bend. That game will be then. Then on Saturday, you've got a triple header of SMU Penn State, followed by Clemson, Texas, and Tennessee, Ohio State on the 21st. That's Saturday after that Friday the 20th. So there you go. So a few thoughts on the college football playoff, but we'll make picks on this next week. There's still plenty of time to get to that, but
definitely.
I thought it was interesting to just kind of get some thoughts. We hadn't had a chance to kind of look at the college football playoff bracket and get our few thoughts on how it all stacked up and shook out, and just got some thoughts on that here this morning. So it's 7:33 Mountain, 8:33 Central Time here on a Wednesday on our way to a high of 51 degrees, currently sitting at 25. Going to be a warmer kind of temperatures like this the rest of the week. So kind of mind that as well. We'll get to a break. When we come back, Joe Tillery is going to hop on the program, our good friend from Heartland College Sports. He's going to stop by and visit about silly season that's going on right now in college athletics, a little bit of college basketball and football talk with us next with Joe Tillery. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Wednesday.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is December 11th. And on the overnight last night, March corn higher 1 1/4 at 4.50 1/4. May up 1 3/4 at 4.57. July up 1 3/4 at 4.59. And September corn up 3/4 cents at 4.38 3/4. January soybeans down 3.5 on the overnight at 991 1/4. March down 2.5, 997 3/4. May down 2 3/4 at 1006 1/2. July down 3 at 1017 1/4. Chicago wheat, the March contract higher 3 cents on the overnight at 564 3/4. May up 4 at 574 1/2. July up 3 3/4 at 580 3/4. September soft wheat up 3.5 at 593 1/4. Kansas City wheat, the March contract higher 1.5 on the overnight at 567 1/4. May up 2 at 575. July up 1 3/4 at 582 1/2. September hard wheat up 1.5 at 594 1/2. On the stock market this morning, the Dow up 103 at 44,438. The S&P up 24 at 6,070. The Nasdaq up 121 at 21,526. Crude oil up 86 cents a barrel at 69.45, and gold higher $14 announced at 2,732. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Pluto, Jared Law, or Tyler Dosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
LivestockMarket.com puts you in control when buying or selling commercial livestock, seed stock, or show stock. The easy-to-use online platform at LivestockMarket.com offers private treaty, online auction, and live auction internet bidding. Animals are sold before they ever leave your place. And with LivestockMarket.com, there's no middleman. Buyers connect directly with livestock and hay producers. There's no easier way to find buyers for cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, and hay. Sell on your terms today with LivestockMarket.com.
This holiday season, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has the perfect gifts to make Christmas merry and bright. Need something special for that grill master? Check out their top line of grills and griddles from Blackstone, Traeger, and Weber. Guaranteed to make their holiday sizzle. Stocking stuffers, they've got you covered with tools, gadgets, and must-haves for every DIYer in your life. And tackle winter head-on with their powerful Eco snowblowers, perfect for clearing the way this season. Plus, spruce up your home for the holidays with a fresh coat of Benjamin Moore paint, or get ready for the new year with a stunning remodel. Enjoy the
Hey everyone, come and see how good I look.
Your daily dose of sports.
Back here on a Wednesday morning, December the 11th. We'll get to some thoughts on some college football coaching changes coming up here in our next segments, and we'll get to some also thoughts on some college basketball scheduled for tonight. If you miss any of the show, don't forget you can always download the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Subscribe, like, just search for The Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer, Max Gershon. You'll find us on anywhere you get your podcast, to be honest with you. Also, one more thing before we get to Joe Tillery here. Today, we continue with the 3-day passes at the Goodland High School offices for the Topside Tip-Off Tournament. If you want to go get your 3-day pass early, Get it at the Goodland High School office today. Just stop by the office there at the high school, and you can get that pass a little bit early. Save yourself some waiting time on Thursday. All right, we go to the phones where we're joined by our good friend from Heartland College Sports. That's Joe Tilley. Joe, good morning. How's the trip to KC?
It is good, man. I'm cruising down I-35 right now. It's good. It's about a 7-hour hike, but we're in the process.
A 7-hour hike. So what is the destination? What's the destination? Because I thought, aren't you always in Manhattan, or am I wrong on that?
No. I moved up to Minneapolis area this past May. My fiance's up here in school at PA school, and so we're up here for the year, and then likely heading back to KC. So we're heading back to KC for the holidays. Be back home.
All right. Well, what are you looking most forward to getting back home in the KC area?
Man, I don't know what it is. I hate to, try to take a shot at it anywhere else, but man, there's something in the air when you're back home. I mean, you know it. I think everybody listening knows it. It's like you get back to Kansas City and you feel it. The barbecue always hits. That's a big one for me. But I mean, family time around the holidays is always cool, but it's just, it's good to be back in the area. If you feel the good football coming down the stretch, ideally, and you feel some good stuff out there in the air.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time with us, Joe, and talking with us as you'd make your way down south there from Minneapolis. But what do you make of silly season here thus far, Joe? With the transfer portal and things of that sort, and there's just this crazy time in college football.
Man, college football is in such a weird spot. Like, I for one, well, there's two sides of this coin here. I love the college football transfer portal in the sense that the chaos is really cool to see, but it's also horrible for the sport, to be perfectly honest. But, I'm not a league commissioner, so I can't speak on it and say why this is bad or XYZ thing. But, man, I think, as a K-State perspective here, I have seen, every position group of need, there's a couple to cover, but wide receiver is kind of a glaring need. I have seen maybe 800 receivers enter in the last 24 hours. I don't know how the heck, as a head coach, you create a big board of dudes you want outside of 2 or 3 guys, and tomorrow you have a completely new board. And, I mean, that's good for parity. It's not great for these guys that don't know they just played the last down of organized football. But it's a tough world, but, man, it's exciting at certain points, and it's also kind of messed up at some points. NIL has been a good idea. I do think the players deserve to be compensated, but it's been, people are gaming the system for sure.
Don't you think, the worst part is, particularly this year, Joe, is that they have the 105 that teams have to get down to, 105 total players for that roster limit by August of this upcoming next year in 2025. They got to get down to that, and so you're trying to, in some schools' case, you're trying to exodus some guys. You're also trying to bring in a new recruiting class, and at the same time, trying to get some guys from the portal. It's just got to be. I mean, I'm sure this is where coaches' gray hairs just multiply by the second.
Oh, I bet, man. I mean, you think about all the guys, like here's a weird call out, but Bill Belichick in that North Carolina head coaching job, are you imagining Bill Belichick jumping in to try to actively recruit his own roster, other rosters, players to the portal, high school kids? No way in heck, man. The 105 thing, I think I have the biggest beef with, to be perfectly honest, because having 105 scholarship athletes, it's cool to be able to put, more guys on scholarship in the sense that you could have had walk-ons in the past and this and that, but it crushes the walk-on potential. It crushes the JUCO potential. And now you have to have 105 impact guys. Like, you can't afford to have, hey, this is a great guy, coach's son, let's have him on the roster. You can't really afford to do that anymore in today's college athletics. And it's not been a great thing. I got to tell you that. The cuts, I mean, we're making roster cuts in an amateur sport like college football. We don't have a salary cap, but it feels like we're edging towards that way. But, you think about it, I mean, Kansas State, every team in every conference has to make these big cut downs. Like, you can have these guys that are fan favorites, special teams guy, has 2 career tackles. Well, now he's playing at Northwest Missouri State because he can't stay on Kansas State's roster anymore. It's just a crazy thing to see, and you are actively seeing coaches, hanging up and retire, say, I'm not doing this anymore. I won't be here. I'm headed to the NFL, or I'm headed to a rocking chair near the beach. It's just crazy. It's a crazy time to be a fan of the sport right now.
Joe, who are some big names that you're hearing might be in the transfer portal this year, or maybe already in the transfer portal in the Big 12?
Well, there's a lot of big names so far that have jumped around. I think the interesting thing is, I'll use an example with a couple different quarterbacks. You've seen some conversations about a guy like Jalen Daniels. You've seen conversations about Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati. And the way that it was reworked, because there was a big tweet from Pete Thamel, and he basically said Jalen Daniels agreed to a new deal to stay at his college. It's no longer Jalen Daniels wants to stay at Kansas to compete for a senior season. Same thing happened with Brendan Sorsby. That language has been very, very interesting to see. One dude that I just can't get out of my head, not for good reason. I don't want him on my roster, fair warning. But you think about this. Cam Rising has been playing football since you and I were 16, realistically. And it's crazy to think that he's likely coming back for another year. Probably won't be at Utah, but how the heck do you look at the transfer portal and say, this is a guy we need to add to our squad? I sure as heck can't. I can't justify that. But there's some big names all across the league. I think a lot of the dudes at the receiver position are entering. I would say Kansas State, obviously there were some rumblings about Jace Brown entering. I think from what I understand, as of right now, if he hasn't hit the portal in the first 24 hours, not saying it's a done deal by any means, it sounds like he's considering coming back. I think there's some big names to watch across the league at the receiver position specifically, but we'll see where that trends to. I would keep eyes on quarterbacks and skill positions this year because that feels like the two spots that have been hitting most.
Joe Tiller is a guest from Heartland College Sports. Let's go stick with Kansas State. I know that's one you know the most. Who do you think they're going after, or what positions they're going to be hunting after the most, and where do they need to be looking to get better at?
Yeah, so I've got three main position groups. I mean, I'll group one into two, but the main thing now has switched up because Kansas State has been a program that has built itself in the trenches. The offensive line this past season for, uncharacteristically average, I would say. I mean, you think about having a guy like Cooper Beebe there for 4 years. You have the best lineman in the history of Kansas State football. I get that the offensive line is going to take a step back. They looked great for the first 5 or 6 weeks. And after that Colorado game, they flipped the switch where, okay, now DJ Giddens is averaging 3.5 yards a carry instead of his 7 yards a carry, which I get is an unsustainable number, but you just see a lot of change with that. Offensive line has to be a key spot. They've got 2 guys on campus this weekend, it sounds like, that are coming in. I think one guy from the FCS level, one guy from Tulsa. We'll see what happens there. But the receiver position is one we've talked about. And one guy that I'm specifically keeping my eye on, I don't know if it'll work out. I know he's visiting Minnesota. Maybe your guy here, Malachi Coleman, is one that I've seen pop around a little bit. I think they could use a guy like that on the outside. Someone that, I mean, kind of got buried on the Nebraska roster at times, but he definitely got that upside. We both know that. And then the DB spot, man. You just saw Jacob Parrish declare for the NFL draft. And it's weird. Some of the fan base was like, oh, nobody's going to draft Parrish. And then you realize, hey, this is a top 100 player that's going to be likely a 3rd or 4th round pick. This makes sense, man. You're not just declaring to declare, like you're getting feedback from NFL GM saying, we see you as a 3rd round pick. Is that good enough for you, or do you need to come back? And he made the executive decision to go to the NFL as a junior. So you've seen guys like that leave Kansas State. The secondary position, they lose both starting corners. One's a senior that's out of eligibility. One's Jacob Parrish going to the league. I would keep an eye on safeties, defensive backs, receivers, and O-line. Those are my 4 spots right there.
Don't you feel good, though? I mean, for the most part, you haven't seen a whole bunch of exodus if you're a Kansas State fan, though.
Oh, big time. I think Chris Kleiman is such a great leader of men that you see a stability in a time of instability across the whole league as a whole. Like, with college athletics, I get it. You win 8 games, some dudes say, that's good enough for me, I'm back. Some dudes say, that's not good enough for me, I'm out of here. Kansas State does such a good job of maintaining their roster. And last season, obviously, the big departure is Will Howard, but you knew that was coming with Avery Johnson behind him. You do a good job of not losing too many key contributors that you don't have people to fill or backfill behind them. We haven't lost anybody too massive. I think the biggest loss so far, Parrish in the NFL doesn't necessarily count in my mind, but you think about a guy like Trey Spivey, who had a ton of upside but had some issues getting on the field. I don't know that he figured out their full route tree at Kansas State and what they wanted out of him consistently, but a guy that's getting interest from other Big 12 schools. He's got a visit set up to Iowa State, I think, this week. That's a big one to discuss, but one that I think is almost being blown out of proportion right now is losing your starting right tackle, Carver Willis. I think he's a good player, but from what I understand, both parties kind of said, this isn't exactly where we want to be. You don't necessarily want to be here. We don't necessarily think you're the guy that we need to blow the bag on. Let's stick with what we have. Let's both figure it out and go separate ways. There's been a couple starters, or maybe not starters, but key contributors that have left. I feel very confident that Chris Kleiman does a good job of maintaining the core of that locker room.
Joe Tiller, our guest from Heartland College Sports. Yeah, one thing that stood out to me about Kansas State after seeing all the other regional schools kind of around them, there's been upheaval in the coaching staffs and changes all over, and Kansas State just seems to be sitting there just fine with coaches and with players for the most part. And if you're going to be a developmental program, that's what you're going to have to do, and that's becoming harder and harder to do each and every year with this portal thing.
Absolutely. I mean, development is the name of the game. Even though guys like Deion Sanders, I think everybody agrees, shocked the world this season. I won't sit here and say he didn't. You go 10-2 or 9-3, I forget what. I think they went 10-2 or 11-2, 9-3 maybe overall, I forget. But that team shocked the world. They added so many talented players to the portal. They rebuilt that team inside out. And then you don't see Deion skip on the next high school class and immediately hit the portal. He's recruiting dudes. You get a 5-star quarterback. They've got a 5-star receiver visiting campus right now, or this weekend should be. There are so many things where guys say, you know what? No matter how good I can get from an instant impact standpoint, You have to develop players, and that's what Kansas State's made a living out of. What that pertains to maintaining the coaching staff, I don't know how that happens, really. I mean, Chris Kleiman's a good enough dude. You've seen his name connected to Michigan State when that job was open, Washington when that job was open. I mean, people worried a little bit about the North Carolina job, but I think that ship sailed as well. It feels like this team, for whatever reason, has found the right guys, the right coaches. I'm sure it all bleeds from Chris Kleiman, but you have found the right people to maintain people that want to stay in Manhattan, Kansas. It's truly a gem of the Midwest.
Joe, maybe moving away from K-State for just 1 second. What did you think about KU changing, both OC and DC positions?
Man, it's crazy. It makes sense, but it's also crazy. It's a crazy concept, but it does make sense. Like, the OC, I know, is nobody's favorite person on any football team. Whether it's, we both know Nebraska's got their issues. Kansas has their issues. Kansas State has their issues. Just about every team in the country. If you're underperforming, it's the OC's fault in the eyes of the fan base. Jeff Grimes was not someone I anticipated being targeted by any Power 5 university. But Wisconsin, you reap your benefits, I suppose. They want to get back to power football, you can do that. KU losing Andy Kotelnicki was a massive deal for them. I do think this year they've got a really bright mind on the offensive side of the ball. The defensive coordinator has incredible pedigree. DK McDonald, I think, if I'm not mistaken, comes from the NFL background, was the DB's coach in Philadelphia for the Eagles Super Bowl run in 2022 or 23. Shout out the Chiefs for winning that one. But an incredible defense, led the league in just about every metric. I think they've got the right guys there, but it is interesting. Like, Brian Borland, their former DC, had been the defensive coordinator at every single stop Lance Leipold's been at. Buffalo, Wisconsin, Whitewater, now Kansas. And it's like, to have the self-awareness to step down and say, I didn't live up to expectations, let's go a different direction, that's got to speak volumes. So we'll see what happens there. But that team, I know you're losing a lot of production. That team is scary down the stretch. I'm glad Kansas State got their win when they did.
Joe, I want to change gears before we let you go. Talk a little bit of college basketball a little bit. Your thoughts on Kansas State here early on through the first 10 games or so?
Well, to sum it up, not great, to be perfectly honest. I think they have the team and the talent to do it, but the effort and consistency has not been there. I went on the Kansas State Insiders with Tim Fitzgerald and that crew over there the other day, and we talked a little bit about this, and I thought someone brought up an interesting point. I trust Coach Ten. I think he's a smart man. I think he's a good man. I like the way he's built the team. I like what he's done, but I trust the coach speak stuff. I trust that, hey, this team's going to take a while to gel. It's 8 new faces in a new city. You have guys that don't know how to get to the arena their first game and go in through general admissions. It's crazy to see that type of stuff. But at some point, your results have to catch up to you. You have to win these games. I know that St. John's is going to be a tournament team. You're facing 2 more likely tournament teams in Drake and Wichita State in the next 2 weeks. I got to tell you, I think you need to win both games to be taken as a serious program. If not, you're hoping to pull a rabbit out of the hat. But the way Kansas State's been, like, you have Coleman Hawkins. You're a winner in college basketball, prestigious basketball player. You haven't lived up to the hype. And maybe that's him putting too much pressure on himself, expectations, whatever the case is. But I think it is telling that the team looked much, much better away from Manhattan when they were, in the the U.S. Virgin Islands, because you get the monkey off your back a little bit, you get the pressure out. And I think that this team has the capability to do it. It just takes the right guys and the right effort.
Once again, he is Joe Tillery of Heartland College Sports. Joe, thank you so much for taking some time on your travels back home. Enjoy the holidays, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
Yes, sir, brother. Thank you for having me.
Once again, great stuff there from Joe Tillery on Heartland College Sports. You can read his stuff there, and he's got all kinds of. I always just love. He's got one of those great minds that I wish I had. Where you know a lot about everything. I wish I had a Joe Tillery mind. All right, let's get to our break. When we come back, we are going to wrap up the show with some of our own thoughts on some of the changes in the college football realm when it comes to coaching changes. And we'll get out of here on a Wednesday morning. You're listening to the Morning Blitz.
The Burlington Home Store has a yard work center. They're your garden center, everything you need. Home construction and repair, plus a great line of cleaning supplies and appliances for your home. Burlington Home Store, your full-service lumber yard. You'll need hand and power tools, too. They've got them. By your windows, storm doors, screens, maybe even a barbecue grill. All at your Burlington Home Store, West Burlington. And the staff knows how to help you. And they will, too, at the Burlington Home Store.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-575-2706.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-2706. That's 800-575-2706.
Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Merry Christmas from the Farmers State Bank in Oakley. We invite you to stop into our lobby for coffee and cookies throughout the month of December as our small way of saying thank you to our loyal customers. We appreciate your business in 2024 and throughout our 117 years of community banking and look forward to serving you in the new year. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz.
Great call. Love where your head's at.
With Ross Volkmer.
Thanks again to Joe Tillery, and thanks to all of you out there listening as well. Appreciate you hitting us up on the F&B Bank text line, 785-899-2222. We did have some people chime in about some thoughts on the college football playoff discussion we had. Oregon versus Notre Dame, I believe, is one of the predictions from our listener, Michael. He thinks that Irish have a really good defense, could match up with that offense. Their offense is rolling with Leonard in that run game. So Notre Dame, Oregon, that would be an interesting national title game. I don't know if anybody would have predicted that one at the beginning of the year. Possibly.
No.
A lot of credit to Mark. I'm a huge Marcus Freeman fan. I think he's a true professional. I think he's got a really tough job. Does Marcus Freeman's head coach in Notre Dame? But I tell you, he's done a heck of a job.
I like him too. I agree. I'm not a big Notre Dame fan. I like watching them lose, but I do really like their coach.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman's man. Speaking of coaches, a lot of college football coaching changes here. We mentioned a little bit there with our conversation with Joe Tillery. Brian Borland has decided to retire as Kansas defensive coordinator, so it'll be DK McDonald, the defensive backs coach, is going to step in and now be the DC. Of course, we talked about who's the guy who left to go to Wisconsin. They just said it.
Jeff Grimes.
Jeff Grimes left to go to be the OC at Wisconsin, and so that was a celebratory day in Lawrence for his fans. So now quarterback coach Jim Zambrowski is going to be the co-OC with Matt Lubick, who was announced yesterday. He's coming back to be with Kansas after a year hiatus over at Nevada as the OC. So are you feeling better about the coaching staff now going into the 25 season than you were for the 24 season?
Well, I don't think I realized how bad. I knew that, the offensive coordinator change was going to mean different things on the field. I didn't realize it was going to be this terrible. But yeah, I mean, thanks Wisconsin. It made it a lot easier for KU to decide to get rid of Jeff Grimes. I know, everyone wanted him gone because of how bad the season went, but I didn't really think it was realistic to get rid of an offensive coordinator a year after you hired him, especially after bringing him in outside of the program. But you know what? Wisconsin wanted him more, so we're like, fine, go ahead. And I'm could not be more okay with that. So, I don't know if I'm necessarily more confident about these changes than I was last year. Because I still had a lot of confidence in what this team was going to be this year. Obviously it didn't turn out that way, but I like that they're making moves and they're not settling. And that's what gives me the most hope for next year and the years to come.
I just think it's when you know who you are as a coach, which he's been in this business a long time in Lance Leipold, you know who you like. And so you're going to go with guys that you know and you trust. And that's why you don't think That's why I think it was interesting to see him hire from outside the box a little bit with Jeff Grimes.
Right.
But now he's got guys, I think that, including Lubick, who's been with him a couple times, to, I don't know, just once again, kind of bring it all back together for him. So, and Jeff can't be totally blaming. Kansas did put it together kind of at the end of the year there. Just, it was a little too late, I think, there for Kansas to an extent.
Ross, I think, this is the biggest story in college football right now. Is Bill Belichick, UNC, is this happening? Is this actually happening? Is this real life?
I don't know. I don't even care if it does happen. Have you, I tell you, I think the thing I think Bill Belichick is like playing an ultimate power move from what I've read. It just sounds like as if he is saying, here's my 400-page manifesto, and we're going to do everything like this, from academics to treatment to everything. He's going to cost UNC way more money than what a typical coach would, because he's going to say, I need this, 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 and this. And if I don't get this, then our contract is void. And I think some of those things are going to be, changing academic schedules, changing all kinds of stuff, changing the landscape of college football a little bit. Not that it hasn't been changed a lot already, but that's the point. I think we're going to see a lot of changes and that kind of stuff happening.
But that being said, look what happens with Colorado's program when they bring in a big name.
I get it. And you're right. You're right.
They're going to make a lot. If Bill Belichick does go to UNC, they're going to make a lot of money. I know they're going to have to pay a lot of money, and they're going to have to change a lot of things.
Are they going to make a lot of money? Are they?
Because they're going to get a lot of deals, attention. Belichick, big name. He's already framed it as if I was to ever go to college football, it would be this program where it would just be preparing men to go to the NFL. So that whole thing is already out there, and that would kind of be interesting to watch already. So I don't know. I kind of feel like it's going to happen. I don't know. I feel like it's I don't.
I think it probably will, unless UNC's kind of board says, we're not willing to sacrifice all of the stuff that we're doing right now to change it over. I think that's the biggest thing that's going to happen with that. Right. Also, before we get to the walk-off, Nebraska announced some changes. They've got John Butler is going to be promoted from defensive backs coach to the DEC. He was a defensive coordinator at Penn State in 2013, and he's worked with the Buffalo Bills in previous years in their secondary, but now he's the defensive coordinator after being a year of DB's coach there at Nebraska. They took the assistant defensive line coach from the Kansas City Chiefs, Terry Braden is going to be the D-line coach now at Nebraska, which was an interesting hire there. I can't wait to talk to Nick Athen about him. I want to get his thoughts. He'll know more on that for sure. And then they've hired a couple of guys. They brought back Matt Rule's right-hand man and Phil Snow coming to be the associate coach and probably going to help with the defense as well. So some big news from Nebraska land, of course, with Dana Holgorsen. And the funniest thing is I'm fascinated to see it because the way it's changed now. I think a majority of these coaches are going to be there to help coach the bowl game. And so you almost kind of get like a preview of like what next year could look like. Not entirely, but kind of. And so I'm kind of fascinated for this bowl game coming up on December 28th. Not only just for Nebraska, but for other not the Kansas in the same boat, but other schools could be like this. We got a new OC. This is what it could possibly look like next year. So fascinating stuff. All right, on to the walk-off.
A 3-run walk-off home run, a game-winning walk-off with a walk-off. His second walk-off hit of the season. In walk-off fashion, that baby's gone.
Well, it's kind of a dead week this week in college sports and really in other sports besides maybe the NBA tournament, which I don't know. Have you watched a lot of the NBA midseason tournament? Have you watched a lot of that, amigo?
Yeah, nothing really too crazy. Semifinals being wrapped up. Thunder won, Bucks won. No, it was just
it's not my thing. Jayhawk women will play tonight. They host Kansas City. They're looking to win their 14th consecutive game at Allen Fieldhouse. Having a good year. They're 8-1. Is Coach Brendan Snyder's KU squad. And then some JUCO hoops tonight. You've got Colby Community College going to Butler, a tough place to play there at the powerhouse for both teams. And Fort Hays Tech Northwest also on the road. They're going to Pratt, where former Colby High School guard Hunter Vaughn plays at Pratt Community College. And we'll see. And always loved to watch Hunter Vaughn. Now he's getting his chance to do it at the JUCO level. Fort Hays Tech Northwest will get him up close and personal today. So there you go. That's the college football or the college basketball and what's on for tonight. Don't worry. Tomorrow, things will pick up big time with high school hoops. We'll talk plenty of that tomorrow as the Topside Tip-Off Tournament gets rolling. The 36th year of the Topside Tip-Off Tournament here at Goodland's Max Jones Fieldhouse. It will all get going tomorrow, and we'll have plenty of thoughts on that on tomorrow's program. That'll do it for our show. For Max, I'm Ross. We appreciate you listening. We're back in 23 hours. It's been the Morning Blitz. We'll see you then.